Hi there, I'm Ken Poletski with Community Real Estate Group Keller Williams here in Southeast Washington State, and it's time for your monthly market update. I do this on a weekly basis just to keep people apprised of what's going on in our local Tri-Cities area market and show them what new homes are coming on the market, the pendings, and that data. The deeper dive is this monthly report where we really kind of break it down and get into some numbers, and we look at things that definitely have an impact on our industry. Interest rates, for example, right now supply and demand is actually a big thing, right? Affordability is another topic, right? Affordability is affected by interest rates. There's some great programs out there. We got some lenders that are doing some incredible things. So if you are considering buying right now in today's market, you might want to call us. You can actually subscribe to the channel below. You can get all our contact information there. You can reach out, but we have some lenders that actually have programs that allow for some free refinancing, right? That's a pretty incredible deal. So talk to us about that, but let's jump into these numbers because we know for a fact that the interest rates are having a direct impact on your affordability out there. And of course, it's also caused a little bit of slowdown in the market that we had seen in 2020, 2021. And that's been a rippling effect. Now, have we responded well to it? Well, the buyers have responded pretty well. They're actually, lots of buyers are outside shopping, right? Buying homes. Last week, 15 of the 120 brand new listings went under contract, right? Within 3 days. 579 pending properties currently sitting right now in our marketplace, right? So yeah, buyers have responded positively. Sellers are still having to move. It's tough for a seller to give up a 3% or 2.8. So we've also found now that some of that is assumable, right? So that's a valuable asset to sell to someone as well. If you did have to leave, maybe you're moving out of the area, recently married, divorced, deaths, things like that cause us to move in life, and life changes are what's driving that, right? It's not a decision, I just want something newer or fresher, and in many cases it is. But let's jump into some numbers. I just like to share what's going on in our local market, talk to you a little bit about that, and hopefully you talk to me, right? So, okay, let's jump in and see where we're at with that. And looking at July's numbers are counting from July 1st to the beginning of the year. Makes sense? I mean, my solds will be June's number because we're not done in July yet. The actives, though, are what's going on in the market. And you can see from the graph behind me, which is where we edit and switch to that graph, there's 1,016 homes. 840 last year at this time that was on the market. So 1,000 to 840, a couple hundred homes difference. But that's been trending year over year. If you look at the chart, 959 last month, 916 the month before, compared to the light green of the year before, right? That was month over month as we see that number. The new construction, if the dark red or the bright red versus the dark green, is also up a bit from last year, 355 to 311. Those numbers have been trailing all year long in that respect, right? I mean, if you look at those numbers all the way back to January, we started this year already way ahead of last year on inventory. And as we grow and as we continue to get these numbers up, what will happen is that supply and demand starts to take effect, right? More supply gets maybe a little bit more look or a little bit more time on the market for home sellers out there. And that's not always favorable, right? So you have to be priced appropriately. You have to be priced spot on. Your house needs to be dialed and ready to sell to attract that buyer that's going to buy it within a few days, few weeks of going on the market. So when we're looking at those numbers, we'll see that when we trend on that. So the average listing price now, that's also something that we watch, and the reason we're watching that, those are homes that are trying out the market. They haven't procured a buyer yet. They're throwing a price out there that they hope that the buyers will accept, right, and put an offer in. Because the purchase price is what the buyer and the seller agree to, and the list price is what the seller and the seller's agent put together based off of comparables, other similar type properties. Sometimes they're stretching and too far out of price, and sometimes they price really well and get multiple offers still in today's market. So let's look at the chart. So the average listing price is $561,487 for the current market this year. And last year at this time, it was $585,411. So that's another drop. The month before, it was $556 in the average listing price. Last year at this time, it was $590. Someone asked me the other day if the prices have continued to drop, right? Because 2022, when the interest rates went up, prices started to level out and then slowly began to drop. These charts here show that, and these graphs numbers down here, month over month, year over year, it's been a story, right? It's been month over month and year over year tells a story. When we look at the month over month, we're seeing prices going up, 546, 556, 561. That's month over month for the last 3 months. But if you look at year over year for the last 3 months, it's considerably less, right? 616, 546, 616, 556, 614, 561. Those are numbers that are showing us that the market's much softer than last year. So home sellers, don't be betting on that you're going to get the same pricing as the year before that, which was even higher than we saw. Because we've seen over time. If you look at the numbers, it tells a story, and that's important to watch. And now the days on market is something we do watch. We look at that because we're trying to find a trend of, how many days would a seller expect to sit on the market? Unfortunately, these are still homes that are active on the market on the days average. So they're sitting in the 70s and the 100 mark, right around 100 for that new construction. So 75 days, I think, was the actual one for today. I check on a daily basis. So 75 days on market. So that tells us that story and what that looks like. Now, when we look at pended properties, and these are properties that are the now product, right? This is the product that's actually moving today and looking probably towards a near close or not too far distant closing of when that will transfer, right? Let's go ahead and jump to the slide, right? The pended number of units. The total pended properties as of July 1st was 573. Last year at this time, it was only 538. New construction is 225. Last year at this time was 168, right? Look at the month before, 583, 536, 221, 174. You can see all year long, we've been selling more properties month over month than we did the year before, which is trending that we'll sell more product this year than we did last year, which is great because last year we took a big hit coming from 2022. NAR just put out a recent statistic saying that they had the worst pended month of May ever on history, and they're expecting a ripple effect of where the market will actually slow down in the later section of this year. So if you're a seller that's been putting off selling that product, getting that home on the market, getting it ready to sell, and you're moving, you should probably speed that process up a little bit more, right? If you are a buyer that's actually out there looking, I always say, there's no better time to buy than yesterday. Today is still a great time to buy. Tomorrow is a great time just because you're taking advantage of the market and the established price of what you can control, and that's today's listing prices and today's negotiation techniques that are out there. And you can control what the interest rates do in the future. If they do drop, you can do the refi. You can see or meet with one of our lenders and talk about their free refi program that we'll be doing a video on here. So pricing. So what you're seeing on the pricing is the average price right now is $490 for pended properties. The new construction is $470. They're getting close. They've been close all year long. If you trail back to the light pink and the dark red, that's new construction and total market. You can see how close they are. That just says that the new construction pricing is coming in range within all the competing homes that are out there. And then if you look at last year's number, we were 475 compared to 490 this year, which shows a upward trend in the pended properties on price, right? So it's kind of a backwards, oxymoron where you've got a listing price that's coming down, but then the pended price actually looks like it's up year over year. Keep in mind, we had this significant price decreasing last year where people had to lower prices in order to get them sold, partly because of supply and demand, partly because of the affordability for the buyer out there getting the interest rates that they were getting, right? So we're looking at those numbers, watching them really close to see where our sellers should position themselves, and then encouraging our buyers to get approved, get going, get bought now, before the rates do drop, and then you're competing with every other buyer that's out there that's doing the same thing. So, okay, let's look at the next slide. Pending days on market is always less. When we're looking at pending days on market, we're looking, obviously these are homes that are priced right. They're usually scooped up in the first 2 to 3 days on the market, sometimes a week. And then there are also those homes that maybe sat for 3 or 4 weeks. The seller finally made a price reduction, and then it got nabbed up by a buyer out there. So the pricing is super critical right now for you sellers and buyers that are out there. It's obviously trying to write a winnable offer and get a seller to agree to what you are trying to purchase their home for in this competitive market, really, for buyers. Okay, well, we're going to jump to our sold slide. Our sold slide is generally an arcing pattern. If you look at this trend in real estate, generally you're going to have coming out of winter's really slow, going into winter's really slow or slower times of year to sell, right? So what do we look for in a sold pattern? We're looking for the number of units sold per month, so we can project kind of how many will sell for the year, and if it's a good pace market or a very slow pace market. So if you were a seller coming on to the market, you would want to know, man, is my house going to sell, right? When is it going to sell? How long is it going to take? And I want to know that as your agent, because I need to know if I'm prepared for a long listing or if it's going to be something that we can get gone right away. Maybe it's got something really particular about it that a lot of buyers are searching for. So when we look at these sold numbers, we're looking at how many units closed per month, and it will give us a trajectory of where we think we'll close by the end of the year. Because last year we closed 3,681 homes, I believe, on market. And we're looking right now to be trending, based off the slide that you see, to be above month over month what that looks like. Looking at the slides, we're looking at, this in June we closed 375. Last year we were right at 375, so we didn't go lower, but we met. Last month in May we closed 388. The year before we only closed 298, so that's a significant difference. The same in April, we were 367 versus 287 units. Again, the new construction, which is the dark red and the dark blue, you can see that last month we closed 98 new construction homes over 75 the year before. Again, the month before, 102 over 66. This just shows a trend that we're doing better in 2024 than we were in 2023 as far as the number of units closing, right? And it's a real number. It's a tangible. We can verify it, and we can actually make predictions or make recommendations when we consult or advise and guide our clients through the home buying or the home selling process. Super important, and also critical to helping us give them a consult when they're selling their property on where to price, and maybe not to push price so much right now, but if their goal was really to sell it and move into something different, then let's get it done in a timely manner, right? The sales pricing has been also changing a little bit, right? So the total is the light pink, and then the light blue is the last year, right? So the total average price was $447 this year in June, and last year was $450. Now, this is the only month we've seen a little bit of reverse. If you looked at May and April both had 2023 numbers were lower than what 2024 numbers were, right? April's was 432 versus 438. May's was 429 versus 457. June is the only month so far that actually was higher last year in sales price than it is this year. So we will begin to watch that, because we noticed it in probably, I think it was March, we started to see that prices for pended properties, and which eventually turned into the sold properties, was starting to climb higher than the pricing was for last year. It was our first indication that prices were going up. And so when we saw that, we're like, well, kind of pivoting, like, what do we do? Should we tell our sellers to increase price, or we wait it out? Well, now we just saw that June, just a couple months later, it went the opposite way. So we're watching really closely to see if it's just a balancing there, or if that's a trend line, if that's going to continue to drop as we get into later months. Because remember, supply and demand is part of the influencers of our market, and we have 1,021 homes as of currently today That's competing homes. So that means those home sellers are now competing with the other home sellers. They may have to drop prices or be more flexible when an offer comes in from a buyer who has strategically thought about what they wanted to offer or price or negotiate on that house. So that's something to be definitely watching. Days on market, as we see in a resale market, we said the pendings were in the 40s, so were the solds, because it's when it comes off market. If it comes off pended, that's when it stops. And then if you look at the new construction, it's only 75 days pended on average of those. And when you look at the new construction, it's only 61 days pended, and that's dropped because new construction is a little hard to track on days on market, because sometimes they're just a piece of paper that come onto the market and the buyer's already pre-bought, pre-sold that house. And so it's not really a days on market. And then there's those that are listed, built, completed, and they've sat on the market for 6 months sitting out there waiting for that one, first time buyer. So to summarize everything up, what we look at is these numbers on a regular basis to help project where we're going to be in the end of the year, and also to consult and advise our buyers, our sellers, and our investors out there in decisions they need to make on a regular basis. I hope you get some value from this slideshow and from our presentation here, because we obviously live day to day these numbers and watch them really closely, because we want to come with our best advice to our clients in helping them make their decisions. So the total projected closings for the year, we're looking at, last year we said we did 3,695 homes. I think I said 3,681 earlier. We closed 3,695 homes last year, and right now we're trending based off of the numbers that we're projecting to close in that 3,800 to 3,900 home range in unit count, barring anything else. We have the election coming up. Please pray with me over this nation so that we can work out these political differences without violence, which is insane and absurd. Those are the kind of things that can also have an influence, right? Political influences and things like that. Right now, our influences are what? We said interest rates, right? We know that. Supply and demand is definitely an influencer, right? And the interest rates are effects on affordability. So affordability is an influencer as well. But we know that the job market sprung back, and we know that things are going well. We'll see what the election does. Hopefully things work out and we get back this economy back on track and do well. All right. I'm glad I got to share the numbers with you for this month. This is the July report, and hopefully if you have any questions, you've put them in the chat box below, or you've sent me an email or gave me a call. Thanks again, and you have a great day.